So this video covers a recent fishing trip to Everglades National Park / 10,000 Islands National Wildlife Refuge. The 10,000 Islands refers to this whole chain of mangrove islands that extends from the Marco Island Goodland area all the way down beyond Chokoloskee. Now the area we were fishing was within the Everglades National Park boundaries. The northern portion belongs to the 10,000 Islands National Wildlife Refuge, and the southern portion belongs to Everglades National Park. All of the barrier islands, a lot of them have sandy beaches and camping is allowed on a lot of them. If you're camping on any of the islands that belong to 10,000 Islands National Wildlife Refuge, there's no need to make any sort of reservations. It's simply on a first come, first served basis. The islands have absolutely no facilities. It's just primitive camping. In the southern portion of the park that belongs to Everglades National Park, you do have to go here to the Gulf Coast Visitor Center in Everglades City and register with the ranger. And again, it's first come, first serve. You can't make reservations beyond 24 hours. So it's the day that you launch is when you make your reservation. And again, within the Everglades National Park, there are a few facilities. For example, the island that we explored today actually has a little porta potty on it that's maintained by the national park. But that's about as luxury as you get when you're camping on these islands. It's very primitive. However, this wasn't a camping trip. We went to that island just to check it out for future reference, but we were here to fish. And the area we launched at was at the Gulf Coast Visitor Center here. They have a nice kayak launch. I'll zoom in so we can see that. You can back right up here, load your kayak into the water, and then park in the parking lot. If you're going to be overnighting, they let you leave your car here overnight in the parking lot. So we started out by paddling across Chokoloskee Bay. And Chokoloskee Bay is a large bay of open water, and it can be quite choppy there at times, so be prepared for that. And so then we continued down Sandfly Pass out into open water again. We had to cross a big section of open water to get to our final destination, which was the Jewel Key campground. We fished around Jewel Key for a while, and then we made our way back. Now, when you fish this area, it's important that you read your tide charts. You make sure that you're going to be going out on an outgoing tide and that your return trip is on an incoming tide. Because in these channels, the water moves very swiftly. And if you're trying to paddle against the tide, it might be anywhere from difficult to impossible, depending on your skill level and what kind of kayak you're in. If you're in a big, wide fishing kayak, it can be very difficult to go against the tide. So plan your trip accordingly, depending on the tides. Also be aware that these channels, even the main channels, are not marked. There's no channel markers. So it's hard to tell when you're down here zoomed in, it's hard to tell whether this is the channel or whether that's the channel, because you can't see the entire thing. There's all these islands blocking your field of vision. You can kind of guess by the current, but it's best to be well prepared, have a GPS so you can figure out where you are. And don't depend on the GPS, so try to memorize as much of it as you can. Maybe on your way out, keep turning around and looking for different markers that will help you find your way back. And if you're going to venture off the main channel, make sure that you keep track of where you are so you'll be able to find your way back out. It can become very confusing back here. The only thing that's marked is the channel going across Chokoloskee Bay. Once you get in here, again, there's absolutely no markers, so be well prepared. All right, let's get into the fishing portion of the video, and I have to apologize in advance for some of the footage. I didn't realize that my hat was sitting crooked on my head for most of the day, and so some of the footage was unusable, and the rest of it was fair at best, so I apologize for that.
Ooh, man. What in the world? Is that a barracuda? Holy moly, it's a giant houndfish. I caught a giant houndfish. Never caught one of these so big. Biting this thing. Come on, let me get those in there. That won't work right there. I kind of got a grip on him though. Look at this guy. It's huge. Weird looking critter. Let's get this hook out of him. There we go. Don't bite me. Come on, turn upside down. Right side up, I mean. There he goes. He good. Nice trout. Oh, you're getting me wet, man. Sheesh. He's a little short. Man, I really hooked him. Little trout. We'll let him get bigger. If you've got a low vantage point like this from a kayak, you just side sling it and it will skip your lure right up under the mangroves. But the extra fast action on this rod makes it very accurate. Most of the bend is in the very tip. But if you kind of keep the rod tip down and swing parallel to the water like that, it gets you right underneath the mangroves. That's where the snook like to get, is right up in that shadow. Okay, we made it. Jewel Key campground. By campground I mean a patch of sand with a porta potty on it. That's about the only luxury they have out here, which is nice, I guess. So we're on the inside of the island. We're gonna beach here and we'll be able to see the Gulf on the other side. Awesome. Woo! Let's go see what's over here. evidence of past campfires. Looks like a pretty decent place to camp. And approach this quietly. Never know what might be tucked up in this cove. Should definitely be able to catch some bait here, that's for sure. Ah, kidding me? Oh, come on. Trap bite is on. That's a good sized trout. Go get big. We're looking for your big brother, man. That is a nice one. That's a slot. Hold them up.
Huh? Oh, we got the...
Woo. Nice.
It's not gonna make it.
And we're crashing into the mangroves.
I told you to get them for you.
That's the same exact fish that I had, man. I had just hooked that fish and lost it, and Mike came behind me and hooked up. This might beat the one I got the other day.